Disturbing video of an Asian doctor violently dragged off a United Airlines flight went viral.
No! Guys, my God! What are you doing? No, this is wrong. Oh my God! Look at what you did to him! Oh my God!
Dr. David Dow, 69 years old at the time of the incident, is a Vietnamese-American lung specialist from Kentucky and was on the United Airlines flight 3411 from Chicago's O'Hare International Airport to Louisville, Kentucky on April of 2017. According to passengers, everyone has already boarded the plane when the supervisor on ground boarded the aircraft and looked for 4 volunteers to give up their seats to make space for the 4 airline staff from Republic Airways, another airline contracted by United. She offered to give volunteers hotel rooms and $400 voucher, as well as be put on the next flight. However, the next flight is not leaving until the next day, and expectedly, no passengers volunteered. Eventually, the offer was increased to $800, but still no passenger offered to give up their seat. This is when the gate agent chose 4 people at random to be forcibly removed from the flight for the Republic Airways employees, although United has denied the random process and stated it was based on different factors. The 3 passengers selected obliged to get off the plane. However, Dr. Dow refused to leave, citing that he paid for a ticket and has patients to attend to the next day. It was also reported that he refused to leave because he needed to get back to Kentucky to oversee the opening of a clinic he founded for U.S. veterans. Without any consideration, the United supervisor informed the doctor that the police were going to remove him from the flight. At first, 2 officers from the Chicago Department of Aviation tried to convince the doctor to leave the aircraft, but to no avail. A 3rd officer was called on the plane and right away violently and forcibly removed him from his seat, causing the doctor to hit his head on the armrest as well as the plane's ceiling and lost consciousness. Passengers were horrified as the officers dragged his limp body down the aisle. Many recorded the shocking incident, with gasps and cries of outrage filling the cabin. Witnesses described the situation as traumatizing, with some questioning how an airline could treat a paying customer this way.
Oh, this is
Busted his lip.
Oh my God! Look at what you did to him!
Despite his injuries, a disoriented Dr. Dow later managed to re-enter the plane and can be seen bleeding on his face. He went to back of the aircraft and said he needed to get home because he was a doctor and had patients to see the next day. Officers removed him again from the aircraft, where they cornered him in the lavatory. At this point, several disturbed passengers decided to leave the aircraft in protest. Everyone was eventually deboarded the plane, and the flight was delayed for another 3 hours. Passengers at the terminal quickly shared footage of the event, and the incident spread like wildfire on social media. Dr. Dow suffered a broken nose and significant concussion, as well as lost his 2 teeth in the front, as per his lawyer, attorney Thomas Demetrio. The lawyer added that the doctor needed to undergo reconstructive surgery, and he said that being dragged down the aisle was more horrifying and harrowing than what he experienced in leaving Vietnam. Social media erupted with anger, with many calling for a boycott of United Airlines. However, in a move that worsened the airline's public relations disaster, United CEO Oscar Munoz initially defended the airline's employees. In an internal memo, Munoz praised the crew, claiming they were simply trying to re-accommodate Dr. Dow. He even labeled Dr. Dow as disruptive and belligerent, suggesting that officers had no choice but to use force. Videos and witnesses contradicted these claims, stating that Dr. Dow was not aggressive. Social media erupted with anger, with many calling for a boycott of United Airlines. However, in a move that worsened the airline's public relations disaster, United CEO Oscar Munoz initially defended the airline's employees. In an internal memo, Munoz praised the crew, claiming they were simply trying to re-accommodate Dr. Dow. He even labeled Dr. Dow as disruptive and belligerent, suggesting that officers had no choice but to use force. Videos and witnesses contradicted these claims, stating that Dr. Dow was not aggressive. In an interview, Dr. Dow said recovery was horrible and that he had to learn to walk again and was put on suicide watch. He said that before the incident, he had run upwards of 20 marathons, but now he finds it hard to run just 3 miles, and has difficulties with balance and concentration. He added that even though it was a painful and traumatizing ordeal, he does not regret refusing to leave his seat because it forced United to review its policy, which was the incident's silver lining. Due to the non-stop backlash against United and its CEO Oscar Munoz, the airline decided to change course and later apologized for what has happened. In an interview, the CEO said,
Me, it's not so much what I thought, it's what I felt. Probably the word ashamed comes to mind. You know, as I think about our business and our people, the first thing I think is important to say is to apologize to Dr. Dow, his family, the passengers on that flight, our customers, our employees. That is not who our family at United is.
He has also tried to reach Dr. Dow to apologize directly, but was not able to do so. He added that Dr. Dow is not at fault, a reversal of tune from his initial statements.
He can't be. He was a paying passenger sitting on our seat in our aircraft, and no one should be treated that way. Period.
The CEO vowed to never again let law enforcement remove a booked, paid, seated passenger from a plane. The Chicago Department of Aviation, on the other hand, fired 2 officers involved in the incident while the third one resigned. According to reports, the Office of the Inspector General said that the Aviation Department fired an officer who improperly escalated the incident and a sergeant involved in covering up some facts from the report. According to multiple public media reports, 4 officers were directly involved in the incident, which are James Long, Mauricio Rodriguez, Stephen Smith, and Sergeant John Moore. James Long, the aviation security officer that specifically removed Dr. Dow from his seat and was fired, filed a lawsuit blaming his employers, and Dr. Dow claiming the city did not train him on the level of force to use in situations with passengers. But does common sense not dictate that a paying customer should be treated differently from a violent criminal? Should training really be necessary to differentiate between the two? Further, 300 Chicago aviation police officers were decertified after the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board learned that aviation police officers are distinguishable from rank-and-file Chicago police because they are not directed by the Chicago Police Superintendent and are not permitted to carry firearms on or off duty. In other words, these so-called aviation police officers are not considered police or law enforcement officers anymore, but are mere security officers. After the United incident, the city replaced the officers' stars and with egg-shaped badges, and removed the words police from their uniforms and vehicles, which were repainted to identify them as aviation security. Eventually, Dr. Dow and United reached an undisclosed settlement with Dr. Dow's lawyers praising its CEO, Oscar Munoz, for doing the right thing. The settlement means United will not face the lawsuit. United also issued a report about the incident in which the CEO acknowledges he messed up with his initial response. The report also detailed several new policies to deal with overbooked flights, including increasing the amount of compensation that can be offered as an incentive so passengers would be inclined to volunteer. What happened to Dr. Dow could happen to anyone, especially if you are flying domestic in the U.S. In 2022, the top 10 largest airlines in the U.S. had 25,626 involuntary denied boardings. When an airline oversells a flight and tells a passenger they can't be on that flight that they paid for. This is a drastic increase from 10,927 in 2021. Do note that these figures are for involuntary only and does not include voluntary ones, cases which a passenger gave up their seats since they accepted an offer from the airline. In 2022, Delta had the highest voluntary bumps, boasting an impressive 0 involuntary bumps, followed by Southwest Airlines and American. Clearly, United is not part of the top 3 when it comes to voluntary bumps. Do you think any of the aviation security officers should have faced criminal charges? Should airlines still be allowed to continue the practice of intentionally overbooking flights? Would you still fly United Airlines, and do you think they have truly learned their lesson from this incident? Or you still had bad experiences with them? Let us know what you think in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe.